Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, I would like to present my reading report on the conversation analysis assignment, especially about the basic assumptions of CA based on two reading materials that have provided in iLearn. So, conversation is actually the interaction or the way which people socialize and engage with each others in our everyday life or everyday activity. And eventually, the study of talk and interaction, which called conversation analysis, developed in early 1960s and was firstly influenced majorly by ethnomethodological in sociology that was developed by Harold Garfinkel. And ethnomethodology studies the common sense resources, practices, and procedures through which members of a society produce and recognize mutually intelligible objects, events, and courses of action, which is stated in the book Studies of Ethnomethodology by Garfinkel in 1967. However, ethnomethodology only focuses in analyzing the small-scale social order that is seen through the common social knowledge that influence how individuals interpret the situations and the messages that occurred. Therefore, this study proceeds from an assumption that actually social orders appears to be orderly, although in reality it is chaotic. And Garfinkel believes that the social order is constructed in the minds of social actors or individuals. So furthermore, the studies in this field or in the interaction also developed in the work of Erving Goffman, which he argued that talk is socially organized not just from the language, but there is a system of rules that govern face-to-face. So he actually focused on the area of face-to-face interaction. Hence, the study of conversation analysis was developed from these two studies, which Harvey Sachs, a sociologist, encouraged to investigate the order lines of everyday life, which taken up from his lectures in the early 1960s. And finally, with the work with his two partners, Emmanuel S. Kegloff and Gil Jefferson, in the late of 1960s and the early of 1970s, the CA began to emerge from sociology to independent area of study. Sachs argued that talk is not a set of rules by which actions are accomplished by the production, but the production of interactional effects which are achieved through the use of talk. And furthermore, there are some assumptions of conversation analysis which is based on Satas in 1995. First, order is produced order lines, which means that order occurred as the result of the coordinated practice of the participants who achieved order lines. The second, order is produced, situated, and occasioned. It just means that order is produced by the participants themselves. And the third, order is repeatable and recurrent. This means that there are actually patterns of order lines that are found in conversation, and all of them are repeated. So from these three formulations, it can be concluded that a conversation is neither random nor unstructured. And the key idea of the CA is the idea of recipient design. It just means that the conversation are designed with the recipient in mind and are designed as appropriate for that recipient. So to sum up, conversation analysis studies the organization and order lines of social interaction, and in analyzing the conversation, it is assumed that talks in everyday life are actually sensible and meaningful, especially in context. And basically, context has two primary roles in interaction. First is context shaped, that talk responds to the context in which it is created. The second is context renewing, because talk shapes the context as each next bit of talk constrains and affects what follows and influences how further talk will be heard and understood. So furthermore, context also can be considered in two ways, the external and the internal ones. For the external, the examples of this is the form of social categories, social relationship, institutional and cultural settings. And the internal is the context that created by participants through their talk of themselves. So based on the assumptions of CA, therefore, the data for this study must be actual talk that occurred in actual context. Thus, the CA analyzed work with recordings such as video and tape recordings, which then written in the transcripts. And about the methodological, Scaglov argued that an account of action should be characterized by three methodological elements. First is the formulation of the action being accomplished in the data, accompanied by exemplifications of the action from the data. And the second is the grounding of the formulation in the reality of the participants to demonstrate that observation is not construct of analysis, but it is understood and oriented by the participants themselves. And the third, an analysis of how the practice observed for the action being accomplished. So, however, there are also differences between CA and other approaches. For instance, conversation analysis actually operates the closer phenomena than most other approaches. So CA basically works on more detailed of interactional activities, recordings, and detailed transcripts. The second one, CA, is less artificial because CA favors naturally occurring data rather than experimental. The third is CA's perspective on human interaction is organizational and procedural, so there are procedures of the interaction. And the third and the fourth, CA studies oral language as actually used interactionally in natural situations. And additionally, since CA works using recording, therefore we are required to have patience to do the transcriptions in detail. Now CA is prominently contributed in the use of language or communication fields. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.